Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more slug testing, and today we've got another new round that we've never tried before, and it's one that a bunch of you guys have really been requesting to see, so I had to go track some down and pick them up and see what they could actually do out of my setup. But as for those slugs that we've got out here today, I brought out some of these. Some of the Brenneke Classic Magnum 12 gauge slugs. These ones are a 12 gauge, 2 3/4 inch, ounce and an eighth, which they say is 490 grains, moving at about 1,510 feet per second. Now, these are not a Sabo slug. They are essentially Brenneke's standard classic rifled or Foster style slug. As you can see, it is their classic shape up here on the front of the box. Now, they claim that these should shoot a 1.6 inch group at 50 yards. Generally, Brenneke is pretty accurate with their claims, but we'll see what we can actually get out of these. And as for the setup I've got to run them through today, I brought out the Remington 870 Special Purpose. It does have the fully rifled 18.5 inch cantilever barrel on it with a loopholed VX1 2-7x28 on top. Now, yes, we are firing a lead rifled slug through a fully rifled barrel. And I have to mention this every time because somebody will inevitably comment on it, but you can shoot lead Foster rifled style slugs through a rifled barrel just fine. It doesn't necessarily mean we will see better accuracy out of it. It could actually hurt our accuracy, but this is my slug gun and I want to see what those can do through this slug gun. Now, of course, I would like to test those through a smoothbore at some point, but I don't currently have a smoothbore that's set up with an optic, so we can actually be a little bit precise with it. So for today's test, a fully rifled barrel is what we have. So as for today's test, I don't have a bunch of these slugs, so we kind of got to make do with what we do have. So we'll take two groups. The first one will be a 3-shot group at 50 yards. The next will be a 3-shot group at 100 yards. These are not the round that my setup is zeroed with, so we're not shooting for bullseyes. We're just looking for accuracy and what kind of groups we can get. And I don't necessarily expect to see the box claim velocity either, considering we only have an 18.5 inch barrel. But I do have the chronograph out here as well, so we can get those velocity results and calculate some energy numbers and stuff based on what the box says those rounds weigh. So enough talking, let's get you guys set up with a view of these targets. We'll start out with the left target at 50 yards, then we'll move out to 100 on the right target, and then we'll come back here to the bench and look over some things and see how they actually performed. So let's head over here and shoot a couple groups with these Brenneke Classic Magnum slugs and just see what kind of results we can get out of them through this rifled 870. Alright, so let's take a quick peek through our chronograph numbers here real quick before we look at our targets. I apologize for the weird glare, but it's about as good as I can get for this morning's weird sunlight angle. Either way, the box claim was 1510, and we didn't quite see that. I didn't expect to see that out of our much shorter barrel, but I will say we weren't terribly far off either. And Brenneke has always kind of surprised me with their velocity claims out of my specific shotgun. Maybe they test theirs through like a 20 or 22 inch barrel at the factory. I don't know. It would surprise me, but they've always been rather close considering I have a shorter barrel. But let's take a peek through our velocity numbers and see what we actually did get. So for a high, we had 1,470 feet per second. For a low, we had 1,441. That gave us an average of 1,460 feet per second, so 50 feet per second under what the box claims. That's definitely not too bad at all right there. And of course, here's your energy numbers and stuff up on the screen based on the weight of those projectiles and stuff, so you can get an idea of what kind of energy we're actually running downrange. And we had an extreme spread of 29 with a standard deviation of 9. So overall, we're looking pretty good as far as velocity numbers, considering their box claim out of my setup. They seem pretty consistent, which has been another thing with most Brenneke slugs, is consistent velocity. So I'm definitely happy enough with that considering our setup. But what does our accuracy actually look like? Let's go over and measure some things and see what we got. Alright, so let's take a peek here and see what kind of groups we actually got. And I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with them so far. Especially that 50-yard group. And the 100-yard group isn't bad either, that's for sure. So I guess let's start off over on the left-hand target. That was our 50-yard group. We had 3 of them pretty well touching each other. So let's measure that group and see what it gave us. Alright, so at 50 yards, we had a 1.21 inch group. And that is from measuring from the center of that top hole to the center of that bottom hole on the right there. So from center to center on our 2 farthest bullet holes across is 1.2 inches. That is better than their 1.6 inch box claim at 50 yards. So definitely looking very nice there, I'd say. Definitely can't complain about that. That's absolutely deadly for a slug gun at 50 yards all day long. So let's move over to the right target, which was our 100-yard group. We did open it up just a little bit there, but we still had 2 that were very close to touching. And overall, before even measuring it, that's still a pretty nice group for a slug gun at 100 yards. That's running just a lead Brenneke slug, definitely nothing fancy about it. Not a Sabo slug or anything. That's looking pretty decent. But let's measure it and see what it actually gave us. Alright, so at our 100-yard group, it gave us 2.74 inches, and that is from the center of the left hole to the center of the farthest right hole. So 2 3/4 inches at 100 yards, that's all within a fist-sized group. So yeah, that is absolutely good enough for deer camp all day long. And it definitely looks like this is one of the best performance slugs that we've tested out of that 870 yet. It definitely likes the Remington AccuTip slugs, but those are a Sabo round, and these are not. So for anybody who's concerned or says that you can't or shouldn't run a lead, rifled, or Foster style slug through a rifled barrel, well, I think this is proof that you can do it. Like I said earlier, it doesn't necessarily mean you'll see any better results from it, but if you find a combo that works, then it just works. And this is a combo that you could absolutely take out hunting all day long. A 1 1/8 ounce lead slug at almost 1500 feet per second is not going to feel very good on a deer, that's for sure. So definitely looking very nice as for our results today. I don't have anything to complain about on that, that's for sure. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about those results right there? I'd call them pretty impressive. If you got 3 of them touching at 50 yards, and at 100 yards, you're at a, what was it, 2 3/4 inch group, you're under 3 inches either way. So yeah, if you can group them all within the size of your fist at 100, a slug like that's going to be pretty deadly. So I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with these Brenneke Classic Magnum slugs. I know a lot of you guys have said that you have seen good results out of your setups with them, but we really didn't know how they were going to perform through a rifled barrel coming into it. And generally speaking, that particular 870 and rifled barrel combo hasn't really liked the slightly heavier weight, like 1 1/8 ounce slugs, and hasn't really done anything amazing with a lead, rifled, or Foster style slug. So I expected mediocre results coming into it, but hey, we saw better than the Brenneke box claim, and we kept it under 3 inches even out at 100 yards. So yeah, I'll take that any day of the week. That's absolutely a setup that you could take out right now on a deer hunt and be very confident in it. So I guess let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these Brenneke Classic Magnum slugs? And if so, what kind of setup have you run them through, and what kind of results have you seen out of them? Along with, is there another setup that you might want to see us run these through and see what they can do? I really want to run them through a smoothbore as well, but I don't really have one that's currently set up with any kind of an optic on it, which hopefully I can change here soon, because I want to find a smoothbore slug gun as well. So you can let me know that down in the comments too if that's something you want to see. Either way, I'd say this is a win-win for today. We found a good slug that performed well through this setup and got good results from it. There's nothing much more I can say about it. I'd say we made out pretty good today on this test. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.